Hello, my name is Heather Mendel. I welcome you to this presentation of the transformative power of tarot through the use of my new book and deck of cards, the Syzygy Oracle. My work serves as an introduction to the Kabbalah and the Tree of Life. In images understood by the heart as well as the head, these cards and their accompanying text illustrates the hero's journey, or more correctly, the myriad cycles of journeys that we all undertake as spiritual beings enjoying the mystifying experience of being human. The Syzygy Oracle will forever change the way you think about tarot. For those who have shied away, your fears will be allayed. For those aficionados, here is another interpretation that I hope will add to your working knowledge of these ancient and mysterious cards. We all know the one thing guaranteed us in the course of a lifetime is change. We all say we want improvement, but nobody really wants change, and yet change is what we get. We are presently in the midst of a major expansion of consciousness. Welcoming and attending to the intuitive as a valid pathway to wisdom is a vital part of this transformational process. Our earliest ancestors probably relied on intuition to access their reality. As left-brain logic and language came to dominate consciousness, the intuitive skills were diminished and scoffed at. Now, as we, Homo sapiens, are transmuting into Homo universalis, we are in the process of reclaiming both of these as equally valid portals to wisdom. Kabbalah, like all mystical aspects of religious traditions, is calling to many to rediscover the hidden truths of who we are and why we are here. The Hebrew alphabet, consisting of 22 letters, is said to contain magical power in both vibration and form. The first letter is Aleph. Midway through the alphabet, and this deck of cards, is the letter Mem, and the final letter of the alphabet is Taf. Together, they spell the word Emet, meaning truth. Is this a clue that running through the alphabet and the cards, there is a key to the truth of our lives? Truth is the elusive element we constantly seek as we make our way through the world. It is hidden in story, synchronicity, myth and metaphor that makes us question our beliefs. Our experiences encourage us to discover what is true for ourselves. By welcoming the intuitive into our lives, we stand on the verge of a new understanding of the possibilities and potential of becoming multidimensional beings. Just as everything begins in the dark, so do the cards of the Syzygy Oracle. Nothing is as it appears. We live between the portals of the two greatest of all mysteries, between birth and death. Judaism teaches that our lives on earth are where we create heaven or hell by the choices we make, and that after death our bodies return to the earth and our souls to divinity. We are earthborn and heaven sent. The overarching course of our lives follows the hero's journey of departure from all that is familiar to initiation and return, not only in the life-to-death span of our lives, but constantly and continually as we begin and end relationships, pastimes, passions, vocations, and avocations. These cards provide a deep and optimistic map to follow and an overview that keeps everything in perspective, particularly when times are challenging. The reimagined illustrations of the Syzygy Oracle are a novel and multi-layered interpretation of the Major Arcana of the Tarot, which carries the ancient teaching of the hero's journey that resonates now with the rise of the sacred feminine and creates an engaging tool for women to use in their daily spiritual practice. The origins of the tarot are mysterious. This earliest of decks, the Marseille Tarot, dates back some 500 years and is believed to have been created in Europe. Here we see the 22 images of the Major Arcana, arcana meaning secret wisdom, the 22 mythic images that become the focus of the Syzygy Oracle. In addition to the Major Arcana, the traditional tarot also includes the 56 cards of the Minor Arcana, the forerunner of the playing cards with which we are all familiar. We are not even certain if the two arcanas were meant to be used together. The Syzygy oracle focus is on the Major Arcana's 22 images only. The Rider-Waite deck was created in London in the 1900s and is the most familiar to those of us in English-speaking countries. It is probably the deck that most Americans think of when they refer to the tarot. The possibility of drawing the death card in this deck, showing an armor-clad skeleton astride a horse, trampling bodies beneath its feet, has been enough to make many people shy away from these cards. The mythic wisdom of the card seems to date much further back in time than the Middle Ages. In fact, it has been suggested that the gypsies in their earliest diaspora carried the wisdom of the ancient Egyptian mystery schools with them. Have you ever thought about the possibility of a common root in the word gypsy and Egypt? I had not until starting to research this project. When the word tarot is mentioned, for many of us, the image that arises is that of a gypsy woman inviting us to cross her palm with silver in order to discover what secrets the future has in store for us. In the Syzygy oracle, in order to honor the unknown mystery in our lives, each card starts with a black background to which light and color are added. Although the themes of each card are inspired by more traditional tarot decks, here the earlier masculine imagery has been replaced with empowering female figures in all cases but one. In my renumbered card 5, traditionally known as the Emperor, I retain the male figure as a symbol of the sacred masculine, believing that an understanding and honoring of the empowering animus energy within us is important for all women. For those who know the tarot, hopefully this reinterpretation offers a fresh take on the wisdom of the Major Arcana. Many have stayed away from these cards through fear of their prognosticative power. Christians have been taught that they are the work of the devil. Many Jews have not felt comfortable with the seemingly Christian imagery in cards such as the Hierophant or the Devil that leaves us feeling somewhat alienated and unwelcome. The redesigned cards celebrate the rise of the sacred feminine and at the same time honors the mystery of the Hebrew alphabet and the pathways on Kabbalah's tree of life in a way that is intuitive for everyone, regardless of whether or not they have a working knowledge of Judaism. This deck consists of 32 images, 20 to represent the hero's journey described in the Major Arcana, plus 10 additional cards that represent the 10 sphirot, energy centers, or chakras if you like, on the tree of life. That is the normal initial focus of study for those learning something about this profound mythic image. All of the details about the use of the cards and their design is available in the book of the same title, The Syzygy Oracle, Transformational Tarot and the Tree of Life, published by Dodona Books in London, 2013. This DVD is an aid for becoming comfortable with the cards and not a substitute for the multi-layered spiritual practices outlined in the book. Now more than ever, as 21st century women celebrate the rise of the sacred feminine, it is important to develop and welcome the intuitive into our lives in order to live most fully. We learn to receive, interpret, and honor those mysterious hints that call us along the way, the synchronicities, hunches, dreams, and coincidences that are strewn along our paths if we care to pay attention. It was such a coincidence that sparked this project for me. I had been aware of the tarot since my teens. The movies and media always use them as a symbol of the unknown and occult, usually associated with fear. Approaching the cards as a mature woman and a mystic by inclination, it was the number 22 that caught my attention. 22 cards in the Major Arcana, not 20 or 21 or 25 number groupings with which we are most familiar, but 22? For me, the immediate association was the 22 letters of the Hebrew alphabet and the 22 pathways on the tree of life. I also noticed in the Rider-Waite deck There were Hebrew letters in at least one of the cards, and I wondered what the possible connection could be. The fun I had in this study, in a what-if attempt to redesign the cards and the readings, resulted in the creation of the Syzygy Oracle. Coincidence 2 led me to the name of the deck. Isn't Syzygy a beautiful word, visually as well as auditorily? This word came to me one morning very early when I tend to get my most intuitive hits. As a calligrapher, I knew the word. I had written it on large, elegant certificates once a year for the many years I was commissioned to do these awards for Dorona, the distinguished restaurants of North America. Each year I was delighted to find that a restaurant in Aspen, Colorado, called Syzygy was still on the list. I loved the flow of writing this word. It never crossed my mind to even find out what the word meant. It was just its visual beauty that appealed to me. When this word appeared in an early morning meditation just a few months ago, I looked it up and was delighted to discover it was a term Jung used to describe the union of the opposites, and additionally that astronomers use this word to describe a certain alignment of the sun, moon, and earth at certain points in the cosmic cycle. What a perfect name on both counts. KABBALAH'S Tree of Life teaches that the goal of the human journey for spiritual beings is to seek a central path of balance between the dualities of the physical world. And secondly, as this project evolved, I realized it was a perfect way to describe our journey to conscious evolution as we develop our full potential by interweaving our ego, that I associate with the clarity of daylight, and our essence, that I align with the mystery of the moon. As we look at the numbered pathways down the Tree of Life and back to where we started, we see that our journey is cyclical. On the downward journey, we develop our ego's strength in the light of the sun as we focus on our differences and learn to separate, discern, and classify, necessary for us as we navigate in a world of time and space, the realm of Chronos. On the return journey, we evolve the spiritual essence of who we are under the influence of the moon. In the dark, differences are blurred and blend, and we focus on what we all share in common. This is the inner realm of dreams, symbols, myths, and stories, the dimension of Kairos and the eternal now. In the course of our lives, we do not follow these paths sequentially, but travel the appropriate pathways according to the choices we make and the opportunities that present themselves to us, our choices, beliefs, and opportunities all deeply intermeshed. As the artist and author, I have been able to allow my illustrations to correspond with my own interpretation of the cards as a celebration of the sacred feminine in this depiction of the many heroes' journeys we continue to undertake in the course of our lives. My goal is to offer a tool for spiritual practice rather than one for prognostication that everyone can feel comfortable in learning to use. Unlike the traditional tarot, here each card is named with a verb instead of a noun, demonstrating that life is ever in process and acknowledging that change is guaranteed. When things are going well, we may not want to hear this, but when we are facing challenging times, this knowledge keeps us going. Each card is associated with a Hebrew letter number, starting with 1 and ending with 22, instead of starting with 0 and ending with 21 as the traditional tarot does. Each card is associated with a specific pathway in the Tree of Life and with a mentor and archetype from world mythology, a theme, a mantra, and opportunities for meditation and journaling, all described in detail in the book The Syzygy Oracle. Having the cards and mini-manual before obtaining your copy will give you a chance to familiarize yourself with the images themselves and the elements of the design based on the assigned Hebrew letter, as well as the symbols of sacred geometry in each card that, like the word Syzygy was for me as a calligrapher, are beautiful to behold and may be encoded with a sense of beauty, proportion, and verity that appeal to you and go beyond the limits of language. In a similar vein, to make the practice multi-sensory, Each card is additionally associated with a specific essential oil that enhances the development of the skills we need to become all that we can be. In designing the illustrations, I wanted to start with the Hebrew letters. Having made my kaleidoscopic mandalas for a couple of years for the sheer enjoyment of doing so, I was curious about using similar techniques with the outline of Hebrew letters and discovered in that reversing and flipping the images and shapes, patterned grids were formed, reminding me of the exquisite geometric perfection seen in Islamic design. I knew these had to be incorporated into each illustration as an embedded association with a specific Hebrew letter. Look for them in each card, sometimes in the landscape, at other times in the fabric of a robe worn by the figure in the illustration. These grids are now available on my website to be used as a coloring exercise and a meditation in ink. Each card represents one stepping stone in the cyclical hero's journey we continue to undertake, offering us mentors who gift, teach, and protect us, and threshold guardians who offer us the opportunity to test ourselves and see just what we have learned. Everything is constantly in motion, nothing is as it appears, and there is always light at the end of each tunnel as we journey towards the celebration of who we are becoming. Over the months I was working on these cards, as I spoke to friends, I began to see exactly which card reflected the issues they were dealing with and what possible steps lay ahead. While the hero's journey does not follow a sequential and linear pathway, we all experience each of these situations in our own unique way, many times in fact, as we spiral onwards and upwards in our own spiritual evolution. Card 1 is the start of any journey as we step out into the mysterious unknown, courageously, naively, and with trust. I recall years ago being told by someone attending one of my women's studies programs that I should write a book. My response was typical of the initiate seen here in this card. "Sure, I'll do that. How do you write a book?" No clue as to the weeks, months, and years of writing, editing, submitting, receiving rejection letters one after the other, nothing that would actually be involved in the process. Naive, courageous, and filled with trust. In the final card, number 22, we celebrate the accomplishment and completion of a cycle, aware and conscious in a way that would not have been possible without the experiences of the journey. It's that feeling of finally having published a book and having it in your hands, of seeing your painting hanging on the wall, looking at your garden that you've nurtured, blooming now in all its beauty, seeing a project that you've given countless hours to finally launched, or watching the child you raised with love and tenderness finally accomplishing one of their goals. Let's look at the individual cards in a little more detail. I present each one with its patterned grid that is incorporated into the design. In card 1, representing the Hebrew letter Aleph, the name is Initiating, the theme I Trust. The archetype of the initiate is Eve, symbol of curiosity, courage, and hope, the intuitive sense that resides within each of us and leads the story forward. It is with a naive sense of faith that the initiate steps out into the unknown, onto the 4 interwoven sacred flowers of life that represent Kabbalah's 4 worlds of intuition, intention, thought, feeling, and action. Around the neck of the initiate is the necklace with the 4 beads, each inscribed with one of the 4 letters of the unspoken name of divinity, Yud-He-Vav-He. In her left hand is the one that connects the spiritual to the physical. The cave, or cosmic egg out of which she steps, is inscribed with the Hebrew grid of the letter Aleph, some of the shapes colored flame-like to represent the fiery magma at the center of the earth. Card 2, associated with the Hebrew letter Bet, is where we meet our first mentor, the Magus, in the card named Focusing, the theme of which is I Believe. It is very important to know what we focus on as we create our own belief systems, for they become the frame of reference through which we see the world. The magus definitively points down at the cauldron containing crystals from the earth, water, and flames of fire being blown into being by a light breeze representing the air. These are the elements of the physical world with which we get to play. In the water float the letters of the alphabet and the basic geometric shapes with which we form and reform our belief systems, reflecting our own reality. What we believe is what we find, and so we need to focus carefully on our belief systems, knowing that where our attention goes, our energy flows. Believing the universe is beneficent will affect how we experience our lives. Believing the opposite will similarly be reflected in what we see and the choices we make. The archetype of this card is the fairy godmother, an aspect of the sacred feminine we all know from childhood, represented by the wand in her right hand of consciousness. Her gift to us is an appreciation of magic. The third card, allowing, carries the theme, I wait. Associated with the Hebrew letter Gimel, our next mentor is the High Priestess, who asks us to think about time. As the archetype Mnemosyne, goddess of memory, she floats above the ground between two trees on which are the Hebrew letters Aleph and Taf, the first and last letters of the alphabet representing past and future. Holding the scroll of time, or the Akashic record, she keeps note of everything that was, is, and shall be. She gifts us with patience. She represents all that is mystical, interconnected yet unknown, with an appreciation of past and future while she is centered in the eternal now between the trees. She reminds us to be willing to allow things to unfold and flow at their own pace. In a can-do world, this is a quality that we struggle to incorporate, a lesson so beautifully expressed in the natural world where everything happens in its own right time. The fourth card, Nurturing, centers on the mother. Its theme is I love. The archetype is Demeter, nurturer of life, seen both in the child in her womb that she cradles with both arms and the wheat flourishing around her on the earth. Representing unconditional love, she stands between four portals constructed out of the letter Daled, portals into the four worlds of Kabbalah: intuition, intention, thought, feeling, and action. Her robe is decorated with the Hebrew patterned grid of the letter Daled, and on her head is a coronet composed of four symbols of the tree of life. The background design, looking like four-leafed clovers, are based on the heart shape so clearly associated with love. The only masculine image in the deck is the Father, representing the sacred masculine in the fifth card, represented by the letter He. The name of the card is Structuring. The theme is I organize. As we each have masculine and feminine energies within us, we need the image of the sacred masculine to empower and enable us to negotiate our way through the physical realm and to wisely engage our organizational skills. We honor our ability to think rationally, to use logic and reasoning, in addition to accessing the intuitive clues to understanding our physicality. In this card, the images are rectangular and four-square solid, as seen in his throne and the man-made skyline behind him. His clock, scale, and measuring stick are all symbols of measuring, ordering, and classifying. However, his posture is not four-square. He's leaning towards the left side of the card, symbolic of the left-brain hierarchical domination of the patriarchy. However, this is the number 5. Something new and unfamiliar is approaching and can be seen as the pentagonal shape in the sky. The owl on his breastplate covers his heart, bearing the sign of Athena, the mentor of this card. The sixth card, Attending, associated with the letter Vav, carries the theme I listen. She is the confidant. We all need to be heard and acknowledged. At other times, we need to witness for those we love. She resides in the mysterious stillness, ready to listen and hear our questions about issues we are confronting. The lotus is the symbol of Kuan Yin, the archetypal mentor known as She Who Hears. In her hand is a question mark of question marks. Even her earring is shaped in this way. It is the confidant that we need when times are challenging, just as it is the confidant we need to be for others we love. This gift of deep listening and being heard is an invaluable gift. The seventh card associated with the letter Zion is named Acknowledging. It is the call to adventure. Its theme, I respond. The call is often unheeded at first by the enthusiast seen here. When we are empowered with the gifts of being heard, of magic, love, trust, hope, and focus, with organizational skills and the ability to think rationally to counterbalance our innate and burgeoning intuition, and with an appreciation of mystery and mysticism, we are ready to set off from home and start living our own myth. Hearing the call, we respond. When a flame is ignited in the heart of the enthusiast, when our passions are engaged, be it the call to relationship, vocation, avocation, or social action, we need to weave together the organizational skills we have with the intuitive wisdom of recognizing the call. The tree under which the enthusiast exists is the Eitz Hadat, those Hebrew letters on the trunk of the tree that spell out the tree of knowledge. This is the place of our humanness. Above in the distance is the Eitz Chaim, the tree of life that calls to our beingness and the evolution of our essence. We can climb many pathways to get there when we are ready. Aphrodite, goddess of passion and love, is the archetype. Her dove is close by. Card 8, entitled Balancing, is associated with the letter Chet and carries the theme I embody. It is a reminder to keep a semblance of balance in a world that is fluid as circumstances constantly change. Additionally, we need to keep upright, to keep going, and to find a balance between the conflicting demands of the inner world, instinct and intuition, needs and wants, as well as all the diverse pushes and pulls we encounter in our everyday lives. The charioteer is in a circular green vehicle, precariously balancing on its wheels within wheels as she negotiates her way through an ever-changing landscape, both outwardly and within herself. She holds her wand of connection to the spiritual firmly in her hand. The mysterious Urim and Tumim, the oracular tools of the biblical high priest, are around her neck. The honeybees associated with Artemis, the archetype of this card, decorate her octagonal shield that protects the front of her chariot and represents the four directions. As we start out on our own adventure, the sacred warrior needs her sword to cut through the illusions of belief that surrounds her as she learns to discern what is right and what is true. Her scales help her to assess and find her center. The card number is 9, the Hebrew letter Tet. The name of the card is Discerning. Its theme, I distinguish. The sphere onto which she steps contains 2 intermeshing symbols of the Enneagram, within which is the Chanupa or peace pipe, associated with white buffalo calf woman, the archetype of this card. The Hebrew grid of the letter Tet is seen in her robe. It also is reflected in the illuminated paths between the 9 light beams that shine down from the interlocking pyramids above her. A 9-pointed star is her crown. At some point in our journey, we ask the questions of the spiritual seeker, the questing to know the answers to life's greatest mysteries. Who am I? Why am I here? And where am I going? These questions are of a deeper dimension than those asked of the confidant in card 6. The illuminator seen here is there to show the way in the card named Questing that carries the theme I seek. It is associated with the letter Yud, the only Hebrew letter that floats above the rest. In her hand is the crystal ball, at her side the fire that keeps her warm, even in the lofty heights of the mountain tops under the starry sky, where she is utterly alone and never lonely. Hestia, goddess of the hearth, is the archetype of this card, and out of the cauldron emerge the letters of the divine name, Yud He Vav He. When we know who or what we are worshipping, we know who we are. At the base of the journey through the sunlight to the foot of the tree, before we begin the return journey, is the 11th card associated with the letter Kaf, shaped like an open hand beckoning us onwards. It is entitled Revolving, and its theme, I Return. Here we meet the threshold guardian of change that we all know is inevitable. As the wheel turns, we need to be able to respond to the changes. The interwoven female figures shaded in 4 colors dive in unison, representing the 4 worlds: intuition, intention, thought, feeling, and action. They are interlocked as they dive and as they surface once again. Inside the wheel that turns within the wheel are the seeds of the pomegranate that represent the abducted Persephone associated with this card. She represents the archetypal victim who returns not as she was, but different and matured. With life's experiences under our belt, none of us remain as innocent and naive as the archetypal Eve in card 1. The journey undertaken gives us the opportunity to experience life and return to where we started, consciously, willingly, able to reclaim the faith and trust with which we started and may have lost along the way. These qualities are vital for the seasoned traveler. How do we react when we feel we've been victimized? This card is not the end of the deck. There are 11 more to go. Hope always leads the way, empowering us to deal with our inexplicable and changing circumstances. When we are on the top of the cycle, we enjoy it whilst it lasts. When we are beneath the wheel, the knowledge that change is coming gives us the hope. With the 12th card, Harnessing, and its theme, I Control, we enter the mysterious and unknown half of the journey where we are influenced by the moon and the imagery of the inner realms. This card is associated with the letter Lamed. The animal whisperer gentles the lion. We all have powerful instinctive drives that need expression. Anger, righteous indignation, and fear, all drives that we need to survive. How we express them can be explosive or empowering, as the next threshold guardian offers us the opportunity to experience. Control does not mean negating these forces. It means learning to channel such emotions in constructive ways, neither bottling this potential energy within us, nor expressing these things explosively to the detriment of ourselves and to one another. Maturity brings a sense of knowing how to do this. Intuition is a guide as to how, when, and where to express our emotions. The feather of Ma'at is in this figure's headdress. Ma'at is the Egyptian goddess of balance and order. The card Inverting has the theme, I Surrender. On the return journey, under the influence of the moon, we meet a threshold guardian in the 13th card who gives us the opportunity of finding a new perspective when nothing else we have tried seems to help us move forward. The trapeze artist swings nonchalantly on her trapeze, suspended between the 2 trees, decorated with the grid of the associated letter Mem, symbolizing the relationship of light and dark that is reversed on the 2nd tree. She seeks a new perspective as she surrenders to the unknown, acknowledging that she needs to try something different. Her hair now floats in the water, symbol of the spiritual world, and in her hair is the feather of Yemaya, African goddess of the ocean, who, it is believed, was the sacred feminine energy that boarded the slave ships with the prisoners to accompany them on their journey. Just as in the Jewish tradition, we believe the Shekhinah, the feminine aspect of the divine, travels with us on our earthly sojourn. Releasing is the name of the 14th card. Its theme is I Yield, its Hebrew letter Nun. Here we meet another of the threshold guardians who give us the opportunity to test our own mettle and see what we have learned from life. Can we call up the gifts of the mentors we were given in the earlier cards? Replacing the death card in the traditional deck, this card now shows a woman bowed down and cocooned in her own grief. She is facing the west, which represents closure, mystery, endings, and blendings. She is so wrapped up in her own sadness, she sees neither the new green leaf overhead nor the dawn breaking behind her so brightly in the east, a double dawn, in fact, to represent the multiple possibilities that we always can access when we are ready to center ourselves and look out from our deep and raging emotions. She is surrounded by the dry leaves of seasons past. Over her are the sacred geometric shapes of the Taurus and the Ouroboros, the ancient symbol of the snake swallowing its own tail as a sign of eternity. In the center of these circular forms are the symbols of the thread and the scissors, as the archetypes of this card are the three fates, the Moirae, Clotho, Lachesis, and Atropos, who spin the yarn of life, measure it, and cut it. The yarn can be symbolic not only of the length of our lives, but most often of any of the journeys we follow in the course of a lifetime: relationship, attachments, passion, pastimes, vocations, and avocations. The 15th card is the Shapeshifter, and the archetype is the Native American changing woman. The Hebrew letter is Samach. Here her heart has been broken open, and she releases 4 butterflies, one for each of the 4 worlds of intention, intuition, thought, feeling, and action. Transformed from her experience, just as Persephone was transformed in the 11th card, she is now able to run golden light between her hands. This is the card of the alchemist, who turns lead into gold. Spiritually, that is what we do each time we take the leaded dross of our lives and transform it to gold, the illuminating experiences that enlighten us and make us whole. Her foot is in the water, symbolic of the spiritual realm, and she is buoyant, having overcome a challenge. Above her the sun is visible on the horizon, and in the center of the light is a symbol of the directions. More than just the 4 north, south, east, and west, we acknowledge 7 directions by including above, below, and within. The 16th card, Constricting, offers the meeting with another threshold guardian, inviting us to review our circumstances. When we feel stuck, it seems that we are tethered and blindfolded in place with no options or alternatives to consider. The pessimist cannot see that her shackles are loose and can be stepped right out of, just as her blindfold can be removed. Her agitated thoughts are buzzing so loudly within her she cannot hear the intuitive voice. Her wand that normally reminds her of her role as a bridge between heaven and earth, physicality and spirituality, has been dropped and is at her feet, so she has temporarily lost her connection and centering. The archetype is Hecate, goddess of the crossroads. Hecate's owl is above the pessimist's head, waiting for her to look up. Creating this card was one of those aha moments. When I decided I wanted to make this figure at the crossroads, I had no idea which Hebrew letter would be associated with the card, and lo and behold, it was the letter Ayin, whose shape is clearly reflected in the crossroads. Aren't such serendipities fun? Card 17, named Revealing, carries the theme I Discover and is associated with the letter Pe. Adding a hyphen between dis and cover offers another clue to the meaning of this card. In the second card, the Magus reminds us that our belief patterns create our reality. In this card, the illusionary, transparent, man-made tower built on a deeply sloping cliff is imploding. Just as the patriarchy created a vastly uneven playing field, patriarchal beliefs of hierarchy and discrimination are doomed to failure and will implode. Any thought of us and them that still exists within us will prevent our evolving in consciousness to become all that we can be. Card 17 introduces a threshold guardian who invites us to discover and reform our beliefs. From the imploding tower, struck by the lightning bolt from the turning wheel of time, the seeker free falls from the disintegrating structure or patriarchal paradigm towards the natural earth below, where the dawn is breaking for a new day. Pele, the goddess of fire, is the archetype. She is the great cleanser. We need to burn away our discriminatory belief patterns in order to learn to celebrate our diversity. 18 is the number associated with the card contemplating. 18 is a very lucky number as it represents life. The toast of the Jew is l'chaim, to the blessing of the gift of life itself. So this card is beneficent indeed. The contemplative is seated partly in water and partly on the land, bridging physicality and spirituality in this card that carries the theme, I meditate. The letter tzadi of the card is seen on her robe. She can see her own reflection in the water. She is deeply connected to her inner life and realizes it is a vital aspect of her being. The theme of this card acknowledges that to live most fully, we must make time to turn inwards. It encourages us to plant our own garden, blossoming into the fullness of all that we can be. New spiritual seedling strengths are watered at her side, while behind her and waiting are the flourishing fields burgeoning with new life. The 18-pointed star blesses her above the hills and is worn on her coronet. The shimmering sacred geometric illumination behind her suggests the angelic presence with which we can connect once we integrate an ongoing spiritual practice in our lives. The archetype here is Tara, the bodhisattva of compassion, who is believed to have arisen on a lotus from the lake of tears cried for the suffering experienced in the human condition. As we plant our own gardens, we wonder if there is any association between Tara and Terra or Mother Earth. As we develop a spiritual practice and evolve in consciousness, compassion is who and what we become. Dreamer is floating on a pool in the moonlight surrounded by trees in the 19th card named Reflecting. It is associated with the letter Kuf. This is a card that connects us with the moon that reflects the light of the sun. The pool is the repository of her dreams and longings. The theme of this card is I imagine. From the relaxed dreamlike state of her calm unconscious arise the many symbols of interconnection, possibilities, and potential of all she can become. Just as the hero returns with a gift for humanity, the dreamer is accessing all that she can contribute to make life better because she is in it. The archetype here is the much maligned Lilith, who represents the independent wild woman within that Clarissa Pinkola Estes so beautifully described in Women Who Run with the Wolves. Here the moon shines as brightly as the sun to ignite her visions, emboldening her to honor her dreams and imagination, more important, said Albert Einstein, than knowledge itself. The 20th card is named Illuminating. Its theme is I resonate. The archetype associated with the adept who is seen in the garden here is the Egyptian goddess Hathor, whose symbol adorns the adept's headdress, the crescent moon holding the sun. Invigorated now, the adept knows she can turn her back on her problems, and in the light of the sun, co-joined with the wisdom of the moon, she recognizes her pathway that stretches out ahead. She realizes that the wall she believed that fenced her in is illusionary. She walks right through it, free at last. The fabric of her robe is designed with the grid of the Hebrew letter Resh. The 4 sunflowers along her way remind us of the warmth and power of the sunlight as they represent the 4 worlds of intuition, intention, thought, feeling, and action. In the rising sun, we can detect the shape of a double infinity symbol, one running from north to south, the others from west to east, incorporating 4 20-sided figures to celebrate the number of this card. In the 21st card, named Realizing, the mystic greets the new dawn. The theme of this card is I accomplish. This is a moment of success. The mystic is experiencing that moment of clarity and harmony when everything comes together. Arms outstretched, she is in perfect balance on a sphere containing the sacred flower of life that integrates the 4 worlds of intuition, intention, thought, feeling, and action as the ball floats in a pool of water. She is conscious that she is a bridge between heaven and earth, however momentarily. Now she realizes it and celebrates it. Her chakras are all aligned and vibrating in resonance with the 7 earthly notes from the ram's horn or shofar. Above her is the Akashic record. Jews may interpret the scroll as the living Torah, on which the letters of life, first introduced by the Magus in card 2, offer us the potential to create the story of who we are and what we believe. This is the same scroll held in card 3 by the High Priestess as she gifts us with patience, encouraging us to allow things to take their own course. The Hebrew letter grid Shin, flame-like, asymmetrical and flowingly curvaceous in shape, covers the landscape in an interlocking and graceful grid. The archetypal mentor is Sophia, the sacred feminine embodiment of the wisdom of the ages that Kabbalah teaches was present before the creation. The final card of this part of the deck in the Syzygy Oracle is entitled Becoming. Its celebratory theme is I dance. At the completion of any cycle, having come through pitfalls and challenges, we experience moments of exhilaration and sheer joy. The celebrant dances to the music of the cosmos, raising above her the Ankh, celebrating masculine and feminine energy, the symbol of Isis, the archetype for the card. She holds it aloft and celebrates the balancing of the dualities for that moment of bliss as self and soul are united in the moment, ego and essence marry, and Chronos and Kairos blend. Her foot finds balance atop the triangle, the central point between the polarities. A grid of 22-sided symbols create the starry backdrop in the sky as she dances. Her robe is decorated with the final Hebrew letter Taf. The final card is still not the end, because when we understand time as cyclical rather than linear, we acknowledge that we now move into a higher, wider, broader, deeper thrust on the spiral of life. The Syzygy Oracle consists of 32 cards, 22 representing the stepping stones along the hero's journey, a reinterpretation of Tarot's Major Arcana. The additional 10 cards are included in the deck to represent the 10 Sefirot on the Tree of Life. No teaching based on Kabbalah's tree would be complete by only focusing on the 22 pathways between the energy centers. We need to look at the 10 Sefirot as well. They are numbered from the top of the tree as they progress downwards in a lightning flash pattern, creating a diagram of an integrated whole that is larger than the parts that comprise it. The tree is a symbol of sacred geometry that can be used to understand the balance required in any functional organic system, from the cosmic structure of the galaxies to the personal aspects of our physical bodies and spiritual essence. I've selected a kaleidoscopic mandala to represent each sefirah. I've taken some liberty with the translation of the Hebrew names for the Sefirot to make the concepts more accessible. Each of the cards starts again with a black background and features a mandala surrounded by the calligraphic phrase, "Celebrate diversity and sanctify life," into which is added the English name of the Sefirah. Please do not be too concerned about not knowing enough about the Tree of Life. Familiarize yourself with the name and placement of each Sefirah on the tree as shown in each diagram, and this will be a great introduction to this mystical wisdom tradition. The book, The Syzygy Oracle, provides more information in a user-friendly fashion on the Tree of Life and the 4 worlds which are featured in many of the cards. The Tree of Life is an organic whole comprising 3 vertical columns or pillars, the middle path of balance running between the 2 polarities. The outer columns consist of reciprocal pairs, wisdom and understanding, compassion and strength, innovation and tradition. The pillar of expansion on the right consists of wisdom, compassion, and innovation, and the pillar of reception on the left counterbalances the flow of energy and is made up of understanding, strength, and tradition. Our goal is to constantly find a point of balance between each pair. Horizontally, we find in this diagram of 10 interconnected energy centers 7 different levels of relationship. The central pathway travels downwards from Keter or spark through Tiferet or harmony, Yesod or imagery, to Malchut or physicality, which represents the material world in which we operate. Our spiritual goal is to ascend the tree back to spark by learning to balance the opposites as we evolve in consciousness and become the multidimensional beings we are. Each sphera is connected to harmony at the heart of the tree where soul resides. At imagery, we find the world of our dreams and symbols from which we create the personality by which we wish the world to know us. Physicality is the material body and the world that we recognize in a three-dimensional reality. As we go through the next slides, please look at the mandala and its position on the tree. The entrance from the spiritual realm into the physical is at Keter, here named Spark. It is where all journeys begin and is part of a cycle where all journeys culminate. Wisdom appears on the right in the pillar of expansion. Understanding is the counterbalance to wisdom on the left in the pillar of reception. Compassion is centered on the right on the pillar of expansion, while strength counterbalances compassion on the left in the pillar of reception. Harmony is at the heart of the tree on the central pathway of balance, while innovation is found on the right in the pillar of expansion, and tradition counterbalances innovation on the left on the pillar of reception. Imagery appears in the central column below harmony at a denser vibration than spark and above physicality. It is on the central pathway of Kairos in the eternal now. Physicality at the densest vibratory level is at the base of the tree and where most of us spend most of our time in the world of Kronos, remembering times past and anticipating the future. My wish for you is to have as much fun using the cards as I had in creating them. Use them in any way you like. Ask a question and pick a card. Put the cards face down and select one from each spread and read their message with your eyes and your heart. Alternatively, with the cards face up, pick a card and see what calls to you and then read what it has to offer. The Syzygy Oracle journals for keeping track of your thoughts, dreams, and reflections are available from my website, as are the packs of alphabet grids associated with each card that can be colored as a meditation in ink practice. Once you have the grids, another way of selecting a reading is by choosing a pattern design that appeals to you. Find the card number at the bottom of the card and see which one of the readings is associated with it. Last but not least, to make the spiritual practice multisensory, Dr. Zoe Wells, a naturopathic physician in San Luis Obispo, has created a set of essential oils to complement the qualities we focus on in each reading. The set of 12 oils can be used in different combinations and are assigned to each card to deepen your experience. Please email me for details or visit my website. Make sure to order your copy of the Syzygy Oracle, published by Dodona Books, an imprint of John Hunt Publications in London from the fall of 2013. Enjoy the cards as you deepen your appreciation of the intuitive in your life, and as you do so, celebrate your voluntary participation in the conscious evolutionary growth that is changing our planet as we transform Homo sapiens into Homo universalis. Thank you for your interest in the Syzygy Oracle. Now go out there and shine.